Hello and welcome to episode 50 of the Frogbit Blog podcast. The big 5-0. Bloody hell, that went quick, didn't it? Anyway, today I've got some special guests on my show. I've got all my usual features and Mary pops in to say hello. And I'm down here in the summer house for the second time on the run, and a couple of listeners got in touch and said with headphones on they could actually hear birds chirping in the background. So listen closely with headphones on and see if you can hear it too. But what a lovely oral backdrop to this podcast, the sound of birds.
The Frogbit Blog.
Right, on a serious note, I've had some very sad news since last episode. A young friend of mine died suddenly and tragically last week at the age of 27. He was a remarkable young man who I worked with for a few years writing music. Mainly we were just being friends. He was born profoundly deaf, but that didn't stop him creating music. First of all, we created music on guitar, and then later he created some electronic techno music. Before one day, he surprised me when I turned up and he got out his Game Boy and he started showing me how to write chiptune. This was when chiptune was just first happening. And he went on to do gigs all over the world playing his chiptune on Game Boys. Not only that, he was an accomplished musician. He got a degree in animation and he made lots of short political films to promote various causes. He was a graffiti artist and a graphic artist who did work for free for organisations like the Hunt Saboteurs, and he was also heavily involved in anti-fascist action. And funnily enough, when I first started working with him when he was 14 or 15, he came to me with an idea for a song that I helped turn into a proper recorded piece with bass and drums and a structure. And the first song we ever recorded together was called Fascist Idiot. He was an activist and he volunteered a lot of his time to help out for good causes. He was a remarkable young man, really, who packed a lot into his way too short life. And he was a gentle, humble and kind human being. He loved nature and he loved being outside amongst it. And it's sad, the world has just lost a thoroughly decent human being. I'll put a couple of links to things relating to him in the show notes if you want to have a look. And after his death, his friends went out and painted a huge mural on a wall in Newcastle in his memory. So rest in peace, Ewan Brown. I will miss you, and this show is dedicated to you. Right, if you remember last week, I was talking about how an EU committee has decided that veggie food wasn't allowed to use the same name as meatstuffs anymore, so there's going to be no more veggie burgers. We're going to have to call them something like veggie burglars, or no more corn mince. Well, we could just call it corn mince, couldn't we? You know, put a bit of mint in there, call it corn mince. Well, following on from this, there's a new veggie hot dog come out that's meant to replace a traditional hot dog. And the headline says, "World's first realistic vegan hot dog to go on sale next week. Sunflower seed sausage tastes identical to pork equivalent, say British firm launching it." The British food tech company behind the UK's first meatless bleeding burger, no need to swear mate, will next week launch what it claims is the world's first plant-based hot dog that looks and tastes just like its real pork equivalent. Moving Mountains has used sunflower seeds as the main ingredient in the new hot dogs, which will go on sale in London in a London not-for-profit restaurant before reaching supermarkets later in the year. Well, following on from the EU, there's been complaints from a company using the term hot dog, hot dogs, which obviously refers to a meat dish. Apparently the complaint this time has come from the South Koreans. So there you go, I'll have to rename it. Yeah, maybe what about hot cat? Or hot hedgehog. I quite like that. Do you fancy a hot hedgehog? A hot god. Ooh, controversial. That won't please the Christians, will it? Anyway, hot rod. Hot bod. Anyway, I'll stop now.
The Frogbit Blog.
Because they really don't. Oh, nature is clever. It's so fucking clever. Cleverer than Trevor. Though I don't know a Trevor. That's all I'm known for clever. Actually, there's weather.
Right, last year I did an episode called BWA, Bees with Attitude, and it was about wasps, because that's all they are, isn't it, really? They're just bees with attitude. Well, not only are the incredible creatures useful for eating pests and pollinating stuff, it turns out they are really, really clever. Now, this article that I'm going to quote from is obviously written by a non-nature-loving person, as he does all the usual lazy cliches. But listen on. Running into a wasp, or even worse, several wasps on a nice summer day can be terrifying. Unlike honeybees, some wasp species are aggressive, and if they decide your can of Mountain Dew is actually their can of Mountain Dew, you could be in for a painful confrontation. Get a friggin' life. But anyway, but how smart are wasps? A new study by scientists at the University of Michigan reveals that paper wasps, they're real wasps, they're just wasps that eat paper, I think. All right, not just pretend wasps. Let's just make that clear. Paper wasps may be able to logically deduce facts based on their own observations. It then goes on to talk about these little wasp tests that they do, like SATs for wasps, and it's all a bit boring anyway, but I'll miss that bit out. But they do all these wasp tests, and the statistics drawn from this hinted at the wasps understanding and applying logic in a new problem. But scientists are hesitant to declare that wasps use logic, at least in the way that we think of it. Yeah, because that's the only type of logic, isn't it? We're not saying that wasps use logical deduction to solve this problem, but they seem to know relationships to make inferences about unknown relationships. Oh, they use known relationships to make inferences about unknown relationships, says Elizabeth Tippett, evolutionary biologist at the University of Michigan. Our findings suggest that the capacity for complex behaviour may be shared by the social environment in which behaviours are beneficial, rather than being strictly limited by brain size. Well, yeah, we've been saying that for ages on here, haven't we? Lots of people saying it. Intelligence is nothing to do with brain size, is it? As illustrated by Alex the parrot, amongst other things. Yeah, and it finally goes on to say, further work will be needed to determine why wasps seem to possess this ability, even when similar species like honeybees still do not. Still, it's an interesting look into the mind of a common insect. Well, yeah, it is indeed, because what do we know?
Nature is clever, it's really, really clever. Nature ain't a Tory, nature ain't a Trump. That's not saying much because they're really, really dumb. Oh, nature is clever, it's so fucking clever. Cleverer than Trevor, though I don't know a Trevor.
Right, bit of a funny one this week. No, scrap that, they're all funny, but listen on. 3 men gunned down at absolute shambles pheasant shoot on Cornish estate. The shooter from Exeter had been tracking a bird but fired into bystanders. By the way, all these bystanders from the same club, yeah? On Friday, May the 3rd, a Crown Court judge described organisation at the Duchy Working Gundog Club shoot as an absolute shambles. Appearing at Truro Crown Court for sentencing, having been convicted following a 3-day trial, was Stephen Benford. Speaking directly to Benford, Judge Linford said his reckless actions led directly to the injuries. A pheasant was fleshed out, he said, and you turned and fired at it without making proper efforts to ensure that you were not going to hit the people stood very close, and you did hit them. You know the outcome of this could have been very, very much worse. You could have been facing 3 courts of manslaughter. Well, you know what we say to that.
Oh, good, I hope it hurt, I hope it hurt, ha, 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 ha. Oh, good, I hope it hurt, I hope it hurt a lot. Hey! Oh, good, I hope it hurt, I hope it hurt, ha, 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 ha. Oh, good, I hope it hurt, I hope it hurt a lot. Hey!
Is it okay to talk about drugs? Is it okay? Gonna do it anyway.
Right, this is one of those occasions where drugs and nature get all mixed up in the same story, because I do the nature stuff and sometimes I talk about drugs, and in one episode I did last year, The High of the Tiger, I talked about wild animals who take drugs, and it's more than you think, so listen back to that one if you want. Now, this is about nature that takes drugs, but not voluntarily, and it's under the title Prone to be Wild, which again is quite interesting because last summer I did an an episode about John Kay, and he was the guy who wrote Born to Be Wild by Steppenwolf, and he then went on to set up the MUAK Wildlife Protection Organisation. Anyway, the article says, prone to be wild, cocaine found in all shrimp tested in rural UK county. Shrimp, you see there, they're doing it again. There was more than one of them. Why don't you call them shrimps? Thank you. Anyway, cocaine found in all shrimp, yeah? Researchers have found cocaine in all samples of shrimp tested in a rural area of eastern England. That's where Ed Sheeran lives. No connection with ketamine, also widespread. Scientists from King's College London, in collaboration with the University of Suffolk, made the surprise discovery after taking samples from 15 locations, mostly across rural county of Suffolk. Yeah. Whether the presence of cocaine in aquatic animals is an issue for Suffolk or more widespread an occurrence in the UK and abroad awaits further research. Cocaine was found in all samples tested, and other illicit drugs such as ketamine, pesticides and pharmaceuticals were also widespread in the shrimps that were collected, said the study. That's truly shocking, really, isn't it? But at least now, if you find some shrimps eating, a shrimp-eating bird or something talking incessant shite for several hours, then you know he's probably eaten some shrimp-laden, cocaine-laden shrimp. And just another quick one while we're on the subject. Denver has approved a city ordinance to decriminalise hallucinogenic mushrooms, okay? It was approved. The Denver Psilocybin Mushroom Initiative was approved last Tuesday by less than 2,000 votes, according to results. Just over half of voters supported it and just under half are against it, yeah? And they're going to deprioritise to the greatest possible extent criminal penalties imposed for the personal use and personal possession of psilocybin mushrooms. So I think they're the first place in the world to decriminalise psilocybin mushrooms. Interesting times.
Is it okay to talk about drugs? Is it okay? Gonna do it anyway.
Well, Mary doesn't come on as much as she used to, but while it's my 50th episode, she agreed by popular demand to put in an appearance as Mary in Paddy and Mary. Well, hello, Mary. To what do we owe displeasure?
Well, you're paying me £100 to do it, so it's me you owe.
Do you accept cash?
Cash only, Paddy. I need it for drink to help me forget my loveless marriage.
Oh, lovely, Mary. Anyway, you don't come on as much anymore. Why is that?
Because your show's a fucking shite, Paddy. People are laughing at you, not with you.
OK, moving on. What are your favourite memories of being on the show?
The last episode I was on.
Oh, why is that then?
Because it was the last episode I was on.
Oh, that's lovely, Mary. And is there any other reason you don't come on anymore?
Well, it's usually because I'm too busy.
But I record the show at 8 o'clock on Sunday morning.
Exactly, Paddy. I'm too busy sleeping.
Oh, that's lovely, Mary. Anything you'd like to say to the listeners, Mary?
Yes, well done, listeners, for putting up with 50 episodes of this shite. You must be feckin' mad.
Thanks, Mary.
Thanks, Paddy. Bye now.
From Big Bloke.
Right, I've done climate stuff on nearly every episode, but I never thought to get a climate section theme tune. Well, now we're 50 episodes old, it's about time, and who better to get in than me old mates, the King's College Traditionals. Now, I don't know if you remember the story with them, but I saw them busking using traditional instruments such as harpsichord, lyre. No, I'm telling the truth, no. And I thought that get them in to do a jingle for rich people doing good eco things, because they're actually posh and rich. But when they came on, they ended up turning into their alter egos, punk band Toxic Dogsick. And they did the rich people doing good eco things. And I wasn't going to get them back in, but their parents, Lord and Lady Ponsonby Twatface Smythe, bribed me. Quite a lot of money, actually. And you know me, I'll do anything for cash. So I got them back in to do Nature is Clever theme tune, and they started off really well. Then halfway through, again, they reverted to Toxic Dogsick. But the cash kept flowing, so I got them in to do an Eco News one. But on the way up on the train, they mistook hash browns for hash cakes and got high on marijuana, and ended up doing a very culturally inappropriate, they culturally appropriated reggae music and did a crap reggae song, and that features in the episode White Boys Play Bad Reggae. And I got them on again the last time they were in, actually, and they've been listening to my episode on microdosing psilocybin, but they actually accidentally overdosed. And how should I put it? Well, they were off their tits. Anyway, they held it together enough to do The Deepest Secrets of Our Souls and the Is It Okay to talk about drugs theme tunes. And anyway, after the theme tunes, after the acid trip, they all had a bit of a spiritual awakening and decided to stop killing wild animals, and they turned their country house into an ashram. So they're going to do a live Skype performance from the ashram in Sussex, and they're going to do a climate change theme tune for me. So anyway, I'm just wiring up the Skype and then we'll get them on. Boys, four boys. Long time no see. How you doing? It's Crispin, Henry, Sebastian and Jeremy, isn't it?
Hi. Hello, Mr. Frogbit.
How's it going then in the ashram? Have you found enlightenment yet?
Nearly, Mr. Frogbit. We are showing meditation, dedication and feeling the vibration sweeping the nation.
Oh, that's very poetic. Anyway, you know the brief. I asked you to write me a theme tune for my section on all things climate. Have you got something for me then?
Yes, it's a bit different. Sebastian has learned sitar, Crispin plays tablas, Jeremy's on Indian flute, and I sing mantras.
Oh, very new age. I do like the sound of this, but one thing.
Yes?
You're not going to revert to your old alter ego's Toxic Dogsick, are you?
Oh, no more, Mr. Frogbit. We've moved on from our angry young men phase, and the path we now follow is a more enlightened one.
Good, let's hear it then. Ladies and gentlemen, the King's College Traditionals.
Oh, we're not called that anymore. We are now called Tantric Mantra.
Oh, sorry. Ladies and gentlemen, let's hear it for Tantric Mantra. Boys, I'm loving this. This is really good. Oh, really? Have you got another verse or something? I'm really enjoying this. I think it's so spiritual. What's going on?
And we don't give a shit. So happy 50th episode, Mr. fucking Frogbit.
Oh no! What are you doing, lads?
Mother Earth, her name is Gaia. The temperature is getting higher. Very soon she'll be on fire. So don't be a climate then. She's on fire. Her name is Gaia. She's on fire. Her name is Gaia. She's on fire.
Boys, that's enough. That's enough. I'm going to unplug the Skype link now unless you stop. Sebastian, Henry, Crispin, stop. That's enough, right? I'm going to unplug it. Plug it and tell them off. Well, you've let me down again, boys. Lord and Lady Twat-Faced Ponsonby Smythe are going to have to pay me a whole load of compensation this time.
We're all so very sorry, Mr. Frogbit.
Sorry.
Sorry. We don't know what came over us. Will Cash be okay?
Yeah, absolutely fine, boys. And by the way, why did you call yourselves Toxic Dog Shit in the song and not Toxic Dog Sick?
Oh, did we? We must have got carried away with the vibe. Man, anyway, thanks, Mr. Frogbit. Happy episode number 50.
Okay, thanks, boys. Bye.
Bye. Bye. Farewell. Adieu.
So, climate change. The Extinction Rebellion action from last month seems to have got Parliament seriously talking about climate change, which is great. And through Jeremy Corbyn, the government have declared a climate emergency, which again is great news, but we must keep pressure on them to make bold and drastic plans and changes. And oh, by the way, Extinction Rebellion have now got a YouTube channel and then some really good, interesting stuff on there. So think about subscribing. And coincidentally, so have I now. Nothing spectacular. I don't appear on video or anything. It's just episodes of the podcast with a still image on the screen. But I know some people prefer using YouTube and then subscribe via Paddy or iTunes or wherever. So just search for it on YouTube, the Frogbit Blog or Frogbit Blog Podcast or whatever episode. Anyway, whatever episode you want to watch. Anyway, back to climate change. More bullshit from the Trump administration this week. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo on Monday was on about the Arctic region and its rapidly shrinking levels of ice. And he said, he's excited about its economic opportunities. The Arctic is at the forefront of opportunity and abundance, he said in Finland. It houses 13% of the world's undiscovered oil, 30% of its undiscovered gas, an abundance of uranium, rare earth minerals, gold, diamonds, and millions of square miles of untapped resources. Fisheries galore. Fucking great, you mental idiot. So we're going to submerge all our cities, all our coastal cities around the world, and you will in America. But at least there's going to be some gold to dig up and some more fish to eat until we overfish and deplete that stock. They're fucking mad, these people, aren't they? Anyway, that just gives me another opportunity to end with the new climate theme.
She's on fire, her name is she's on fire, her name is
Ooh, yeah, it's land again. Ooh, yeah, it's land again. Yeah.
Right, you're back again.
Hiya.
Hello, how are you doing, young man?
Very well, thank you very much.
Did you have a nice break, by the way?
It was good, yes. A couple of weddings, a couple of this here and there, a bit of garden work. So
You're at that age, aren't you, where all your mates are getting married?
Well, I think it's kind of done now. We had that discussion coming back from the last wedding, and we thought, I think that's about everybody now.
Yeah.
So, aye.
Oh, right. I don't think, I've hardly ever, it must be the crowd that I've hung out with, but I've hardly ever been. I think I've been to about 3 or 4 weddings in my 50-odd years.
Wow, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and I've never been on I've never been on a proper stag do. I think I went on one round Newcastle. That was a very light thing. But these people go around and fly abroad and stuff like that. But I've never done anything like that. So anyway, you sent me another article for this one called Plastic Toys.
Yeah, it's a bit of it's a small article of a bigger picture in a way, really. It was mostly around anti-consumption. Because the way that you might remember from the last time we spoke about minimalism, things like that. For me, minimalism is about appreciation of the few things that you have and making sure that it's buying quality, and you can really enjoy the tactile aspects of a wonderful thing. Yes, that's fine, and that could be everything from a nice pair of shoes, for example. And when it comes to kids, the article was all about the amount of plastic that is going into kids' toys and the sheer amount of toys that are being given to kids, and that kind of almost the sense of overwhelm with the kids, but also that they're considered to be long-term items that are going to be used for upwards of 15 years. That's by the government. So they don't think of them as short lifespans, which in reality, in my opinion, they are. Yeah. Often these items have got small components and they get broken off. If they're not considered to be perfect, they're probably unlikely to be bought out of a charity shop. And then sort of they're not recycled properly. They're often difficult to recycle. There's a lot of plastic going around in these things. And I can see it in my own kids' rooms. It's just the sheer amount of things is
how does the parent, because it must be hard. It is hard to make kids anti-consumerist in a way, isn't it? Because you can have your set of beliefs and you can buy them less and less, but they're still consuming all the adverts that tell them that they need them. They're still surrounded by friends that tell them that they need them, and they're missing out if they haven't got the latest bit of plastic tag. So it must be, it's like 20 years since my kids were that little, but it was a struggle then because we didn't have much money, so they didn't have any choice. Yeah. But, do you find it a struggle to keep that stuff to a minimum?
Yeah. I mean, the advert side of things, less so, unless it's walking around a supermarket, then it's not too bad because we don't tend to, we don't reuse YouTube for the kids at all. And the only things that they tend to watch is like BBC iPlayer and Netflix, so the advert problem isn't really much of an issue. So I'm very, very lucky with my kids, and I've noticed that they don't tend to ask for much, and if you say no, we haven't got enough money for that today, that's fine. And they do know that it's like the one toy in, one toy out kind of system. But honestly, even with that, it's gradually starting to grow, and it's other people tend to be buying things, we buy things, and it's that thing where it's just like you think, why is there 15 almost identical dolls when it could just be one, or one or two teddies instead of a mountain of them that barely get looked at. And they do tend to play with things, but it's not, you just feel like, I wish it was kind of like the way I could appreciate things, but I understand that they're kids. Yeah. But it's kind of, for me, it's just like I've got those two pairs of shoes, my two favourite jackets, and that's kind of like, and my phone, and that kind of like gets me through the week and the year and everything else. Yeah. And you kind of just feel like maybe they will minimise that eventually. I think older kids are getting there, I think, and I think it's that kind of culture of not having enough money almost is pushing it a little bit more. So it's, for example, like the car situation, the mortgages, the bigger picture stuff. Yeah. They are less likely to drive, less likely to have a mortgage, more likely to rent, giving them that kind of like almost, you could look at it as freedom, but you could also look at it as other ways, I suppose. Yeah.
Interesting. Well, I found a couple of articles because we've ended up talking quite a lot about farming, haven't we, in our days, even though that we're not farmers. Because there was something, there was something today in The Guardian about farmers fighting to save the earth's soil, and it's happening in America, it's happening in Britain, this sort of like no dig ideas, and it's about the army of UK farmers turning their backs on the plough, because basically this is one of the problems, is ploughing isn't good for the soil. And we've got like, between the UN reckons we've got like 60 years of harvest left because of the fact that it's devastating the topsoil and covered in chemicals, and the topsoil gets blown away and it's completely degraded. And one of the problems is ploughing it. Because under the soil as well, you've got all the mycorrhizal network and the fungal networks that holds it all together. And there's a campaign apparently in America, and it's coming over to Britain. And in The Guardian, there's this article of one guy that has a 2,000-acre farm that involves planting all different kinds of things, so that you're not constantly doing a monocrop, and you're not constantly ploughing up and putting chemicals on wheat every year and using slug pellets and that kind of thing. And the other thing about it says here, is healthy soil can absorb massive amounts of greenhouse gas emissions as well. So I just thought it was quite interesting because what does he say? They use fewer chemicals and less fertilizer. The insects at the bottom of the food chain, and there's so many things they eat them. And since the insects have come back, because they're letting things like clover grow in the fields and all this, since they've come back, there's been a huge increase in birds, skylarks, yellowhammers, kites, buzzards, and everything like that. Good news. Which is quite incredible, really. Yeah. And it feels like it's from a bottom-up thing, because obviously they're not going to rely on the government to suggest these things, because the government will be on the side of the agribusinesses that want farmers to, and some farmers have tended traditionally to get their information from agribusiness. You need this fertilizer, you need this, you need that, you need this farm machinery. And as soon as you get the bigger farm machinery, it compacts the soil even more, and stuff can't grow on it. And interestingly, it led me to this other article which I found out last week called Kernza. You ever heard of it?
I have not.
And the thing was that Kernza could save the planet, because I'm sick of these articles that this thing can save the planet, but it was quite interesting because it is a perennial plant. And what that means is that it doesn't get dug up. It grows year after year. And it has 3 metre long roots, apparently, that absorb loads and loads of carbon and stuff like that. And there's the only trouble with it at the moment is that it only does small harvests because they're really small seeds. And it's about 1/8 of the average wheat yeast, but they're trying to crossbreed it and find the bigger strains and actually make it so it will compete. And apparently it's taken off in America, but you can buy Kearns of breakfast cereal now.
Okay.
And the Patagonia company, have you heard of them? They do.
You mean with the clothing?
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
Well, they're actually a pretty cool company because they've done loads of sustainability stuff like that. Cool. But they also do, they've started a food side to it, and they actually started doing the world's first Kearns of beer.
Now I'm interested.
I know. So I might have to try that. But it's
let's do it on the podcast. Then.
Yeah, should we actually?
Let's do it
That'd
live.
be all right to actually do a tasting and a testing.
I think that's definitely a good idea. I can't imagine like how easy that would be to actually harvest. I mean, would they bring everything up other than the root and then process and then regrow it?
Yeah.
Right, okay.
I mean, it said it can be used on existing farm machinery. I presume there'll just be a machine that sort of thrashes the top of it off and leaves the stuff growing and it'll come back.
That's very interesting.
Yeah.
I wonder if the Americans are going to start thinking about genetic modification then if it's to increase yields and things.
Well,
they're well into that, aren't they?
Yeah, well, that's the only trouble with it, isn't it? I mean, because obviously it'd be great if they could keep it natural, but the farmers in England that I was reading about are actually trying to find all the, it's like crossbreeding it till they get bigger and bigger strains.
Yeah.
But just this whole idea of farmers moving, because we've got to move away from this method of farming because it's not sustainable. Literally, 50 harvests and we're buggered. So we've got to do something. But it feels like this is a farmers movement happening in this country. And for all I slag the farmers off, that's just a sort of a jokey thing. But some farmers are very, very sort of regressive, but there are some progressive farmers there, which holds out hope because we've got to find, and this is what you try and talk about and what I try and do in the podcast, we've got to try and find positives here.
Yeah. Always be the optimist. You have to be.
Yeah.
It's the only way. I mean, I think, like you said it's getting a bit daft, all these different things that are going to save the world, but I think all of this has to happen it's a combination, isn't it? It's about reduction in certain things. It's about using technology very effectively. It's about methods like this. And it's all of us, everyone kind of coming together because we have to.
Yeah.
If we don't.
But it does feel like the conversation's happening, isn't it? And there is starting to be a change. But of course, the problem we face is that agribusiness and all those on the side of profit are giving the rest of the population a mixed messages that no, we need to keep doing it the way it is. Because, the oil companies have known about climate change since the 70s, and they've refused to do anything. And they'll only do something when we actually force governments to bring in laws to make them do something, because ultimately, as an oil company, your duty is to the shareholder. That is your legal duty. You have to do that. So unless there's a sort of systematic change where that changes, that nothing's going to change. But
I mean, it could be a combination of again all of these things coupled with things like the single standard income for all. I mean, that could be the
UBI. Well, it's Andrew Yang, isn't it? That's standing for the American Democratic primary.
Yes.
His big thing is universal basic income, and I've heard him on Joe Rogan discussing it. And Joe Rogan says, how we can afford it, and the argument he puts forward is actually really logical.
I'll make sure to check that one out.
Yeah, well, do.
Good recommendation.
Yes. Well, thank you once again for coming in, and I'll
Always
see you
a pleasure.
soon.
Thank you.
From Big Blog.
Right, well, I've not had these fellas on for a while, but they wanted to put in an appearance for the 50th episode. So listen on.
Wish that van would bloody hurry up. I'm bloody freezing. Yeah, breast monkeys, ain't it? Oh, here it comes. Oi, oi, lads, get in the van, you slags. Where are we going today, boss? Well, we're going to be doing some salting. We're putting salt on the roads because of all the bloody ice. Well, no, not exactly. Well, what then? We're going to the North Pole to do it. Fuck me, there's a lot of ice there, boss. It will take fucking ages. Are we getting overtime? Yeah, and you're doing your bit to help save the planet. What, by melting the ice in the Arctic? We're not putting it on the ice, you muppet. We're throwing it up into the air. You're fucking kidding me, you slag. No, I'm not. It's bloody scientific.
Yeah, it seems a bit counterintuitive, that, but listen on. A University of Cambridge professor has proposed a radical new centre for climate repair to reverse the damage humans are doing to the environment. The proposals would aim to roll back the harms of global warming and include refreezing the Earth's polar regions and capturing carbon dioxide from outside the atmosphere. Sir David, a former chief scientific advisor to the government, said that time is no longer on our side to tackle climate change. By using geoengineering, they could spray salt water high into the atmosphere in the Arctic to whiten the clouds there and reflect heat back into space, as well as growing more vegetation to remove carbon dioxide from the air. Right, so what happens? You put all this salt up in the air above the North and South Pole. What happens when the salt water falls from the sky and lands on the ice, thus melting it? Sir bloody David King. Didn't think of that one through, did you? You didn't, did you?
The Frog Bit Blog.
Right, I don't know if you've heard, but there's a song out at the moment called The Earth Song by Lil Dicky, which features both Ed Sheeran and Leonardo DiCaprio. And by a strange coincidence, both of them fellas have been on the podcast and both do Irish accents for some reason. I can't think why. Well, Leo did it because he was in Titanic when he copped off with Kate Winslet, and he's doing it now to try and win her back, even though he says they're really good friends. Obviously, he's trying to get her back. And Ed Sheeran, well, because he did a song for the Irish market, didn't he, called Galway Girl? And it was so successful, he thought he'd adopt the Irish accent instead of his own boring Suffolk one. Oh, I watched the Earth Song video. I'm not impressed, to be honest. But anyway, one other character on the Earth Song is played by Justin Bieber. I don't know if you noticed, but he was recently spotted in a disgusting fox fur coat. So I think we'll pass on that one, Mr. Bieber, about you being caring for the planet, you fucking dickhead. Oh, shouldn't swear. Anyway, both Ed and Leo got in touch and said they wanted to come on and wish me happy 50th episode. But they also wanted to sing a different version of the Earth Song because they fell out with Lil Dicky and they did another version with Lil Nobby. So anyway, I've got them both on the party line on the phone. Well, I did have a while back. This is pre-recorded, okay. So listen to the conversation that we had, okay? Oh, it's ringing. Here we go.
Surprise! Hi, Mr. Frogbit. Happy 50th episode from me, Ed Sheeran. And happy 50th from me, Leonardo DiCaprio.
Hi, fellas. Nice to have you back on the show. So you've both been busy doing good eco things with this song raising awareness of climate change, haven't you?
Well, yes, and my publicist said it would be great for my career as long as I didn't have to appear as a newt.
Well, yeah, the less said about that episode with the newt, the better, Ed? And what about you, Leo?
Hi, Frogbit. It's been a while.
Yeah, this is the third time you've been on, isn't it? You came on and sang I Want to Hold Your Antennae after a beetle was named after you. And then you came back on and did a short advert for your new Allbirds Eco shoes.
Aye, I did that, and you took the wrong end of the stick when I sang about a cockatoo.
Well, yeah, sorry about that, but it did sound rude. Anyway, what have you got for me today, fellas?
Well, the world's first hearing of our collaboration with Lil Nobby.
Oh, what's it called?
It's called Earth Song 2.
Oh, how very original.
Less of that, you sarky fecker.
Oh, sorry about that, Ed. Anyway, boys, let's hear it then.
Are you ready, Leo? Aye, I'm ready, Eddie. Ha 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 ha.
We love the earth for all it's worth. It gives us birth and lots of mirth. We love the bees and all the trees. We love the planet and those called Janet. I'm Leonardo and I'm an eco-friendly guy who likes to try to save the planet, but I'm not Janet.
Hang on. Why do you keep singing about Janet?
Well, it's the only thing we could think of that rhymes with planet.
What about Bannet?
Oh, yeah. Or even plan it.
Planet rhymes with planet.
Yeah, well,
well, but they're spelled differently, aren't they?
Well, yeah, but that's hardly the point, is it? Anyway, let's carry on with the song. Let me hear Ed's contribution, can we?
My name is Ed, my hair is red, and I write songs about newts and ponds. I like to sing about climate change, but some of the notes are out of my range. We love the earth, we love the planet, we love the trees and those called Janet. We love the earth, we love the planet, we love the trees and those called Janet.
Right, very good, boys. Let's hope it's a big hit, eh?
Yeah, let's hope so. Okay, we're off now. Bye.
Bye then.
Bye. Bye. Bye.
Oh, don't they make a lovely couple, them two?
I'm gonna tell you this. I'm not with the twats. Anyway. I'm gonna tell you this. I'm not with the twats.
Right, we're nearly at the end of the show, and I'd like to end with a rant to be able to take the piss out of twats without feeling guilty about it, and so I've got my new section about laughing at the twats, and this week's it's about some residents of Gloucestershire. The residents who live on Dulcie Street in Treadworth are up in arms at the state of footpaths, a parking area, and some of their cars because of falling blossom and berries and sap. Christine Jackson said the vegetation has dispersed all over the footpaths, and many of the tree branches are hanging over the car park. Christine said some of the mess is resin. It's so sticky and hard to get off the car. Resin, blossom, berries, it's ridiculous. She says the issue has persisted over several years in the area. Yeah, because they're trees and they keep growing. Yeah, Christine added, I contacted the council and they admitted the trees belong to them. Guilty, you see. So they got a councillor involved. Councillor Usman Bamain said it's overgrowing all over the place. Residents have come up to me in arms. The situation has worsened over time, he said, leading to concerns about the roots lifting the ground and even attracting vermin. He continued, at night, the vegetation is attracting rats and mice. It's so unpleasant. Why would vegetation attract mice and rats, you fucking idiots? But the best bit about it under is all the comments that people have made. Is this a joke? April Fools, who seriously complains about trees? And people just basically taking the piss out of these people for moaning about blossom and berries falling off trees. What is fucking up with the world that people find blossom and berries from trees offensive and they want to cut them down? Oh my God! Feel better now.
I'm not with the twats. Anyway. I'm gonna tell you this. I'm not with the twats. Tell it like it is. I'm not with the twats. Tell it like it is.
Right, so that's it for episode 50. So thank you for Len, thanks for Mary, thanks for the King's College Traditionals coming on. They've changed the name, they're now Tantric Mantra. Thanks for Ed and Leo. God, that's been quite an eventful sort of 50th episode, isn't it? But most of all, thank you to you for listeners for being so loyal and listening. Some of you might have even listened through all 50 episodes if you were daft enough, but wherever you've joined in the cycle, thanks for listening. Like I said, you can get it on Paddy, on iTunes, or on YouTube. So I'll shut up now. Thanks. Bye.
From Big Blog.